Welcome to this family lesson on water chemistry and water pollution. The local stream, river, pond, or lake where you plan to do your water testing is part of something called a watershed. A watershed is an area of land where all of the water flows into a common water body. You can kind of think of a watershed like a giant bowl, with the rim of the bowl being the high points of the area and the bottom of the bowl being where all the water flows. The ground, plants, animals, and humans all affect the quantity and quality of the water at the bottom. Now, to learn more about your watershed and where the water that you are testing flows, check out the short videos in the tech tutorial lesson. Now, what pollutants affect stream health? Well, a variety of pollutants can harm water bodies. Let's consider some of the most common ones. On farms, excessive fertilizers, pesticides, and animal wastes are carried by rainfall and runoff into streams and rivers. This can cause algae to grow too much, which results in less oxygen in the water. Small invertebrates and fish depend on that oxygen to live, so less oxygen can result in these types of aquatic organisms dying off. At industrial sites, chemicals, heavy metals, and toxins are sometimes not properly treated. They can make their way into the water system. They can build up in sediments and bodies of aquatic organisms over time, and this can harm those organisms' development and their ability to reproduce. Oil, grease, and sediments that wash off roads, parking lots, and rooftops can flow downstream, clouding up water and smothering stream and lake habitats. Wastewater treatment plants also discharge treated sewage that may contain nutrients, pathogens, or medical compounds that place organisms at risk of compromising the quality of our drinking water. So, with all these possible pollutants, how do people measure water quality? Well, it's done in three different ways: biological, physical, and chemical testing. Now, biological testing involves observing the types of macroinvertebrates in streams. Physical testing can include measuring the turbidity and temperature of the water. Chemical testing involves using reagents to determine concentrations of gases and compounds. Now, on your field trip, you'll be focusing on chemical testing, but also be testing for turbidity and temperature. So let's learn a little bit more about the different tests that you are going to be doing and what they measure. The first one is dissolved oxygen. All aquatic creatures, big and small, need oxygen to stay alive in the water. When the amount of oxygen dissolved in the water is high, it means that the environment is healthy and stable. But if there is too much bacteria from sewage or lots of decaying plants, the oxygen levels can drop. Another criteria is temperature. Water temperature actually plays a big role. Cold water usually has more oxygen than warm water. So in winter and spring, there's usually plenty of oxygen for fish and other creatures. But in summer and fall, when it's warmer, there may not be as much oxygen, which can make it hard for them to breathe. In addition, in unhealthy streams, the oxygen levels can change a lot during the day. Next is percent saturation. This is how much oxygen is dissolved in the water compared to the maximum amount it can hold at that temperature and pressure. When percent saturation levels are high, it means there's plenty of oxygen available for aquatic organisms to breathe, promoting their growth and overall well-being. If percent saturation levels are low, however, it indicates that the water is oxygen deprived, which can lead to stress or even death. And then there's biochemical oxygen demand. This tells us how much dissolved oxygen bacteria use when they break down organic wastes in water. In polluted or slow-moving waterways, much of the available oxygen is consumed by bacteria, resulting in a high biochemical oxygen demand. This robs aquatic organisms of the dissolved oxygen that they need to live. And that pollution often comes from sources such as animal waste, decomposing plants, or industrial discharge. Nitrates. These are essential nutrients for plants and animals, but only in the proper amounts. Nitrate runoff from fertilized lands, leakage from septic systems, and wastewater treatment plants all contribute to elevated nitrate levels in waterways. Nitrates can increase plant growth and decay and promote high biochemical oxygen demand, which reduces the amount of oxygen again available in the water. And as we know, oxygen depletion can lead to dead zones that kill off fish. So excess nitrate in drinking water also poses health risks, including birth defects, thyroid disease, and cancer. Yikes. pH. This measures how acidic or basic water is, and a proper pH is crucial to the health of aquatic life. Most organisms thrive in water in the pH range between 6.5 and 8.2, which is close to neutral. Changes in pH can happen due to human activities like industrial waste, agricultural runoff, and acid rain from burning fossil fuels. And if the pH dips too low or rises too high, it can harm species and prevent reproductive growth or even death. Phosphates. These are essential nutrients needed by plants and animals for their growth and metabolism. Phosphorus is commonly found in fertilizers, manure, sewage, and industrial chemicals. When phosphate levels become too high, they can cause overgrowth of plants and algae, leading to various water quality issues. Turbidity. This measures how clear water is by assessing the amount of suspended solids present in it, such as clay, silt, waste, and organisms. Erosion from agriculture or construction, runoff from developed areas, and poorly treated wastewater can all contribute to increased turbidity. This can block sunlight and limit the ability of plants to conduct photosynthesis, affecting their overall health. This, in turn, can disrupt the aquatic food chain, as many organisms rely on plants for their food source. Turbidity can also interfere with the ability of aquatic organisms to locate food and evade predators, and it can also clog the gills of fish. Now let's think about water conservation. By testing your particular waterway, whether it was a stream, river, pond, or lake, you are helping to monitor its health. Keeping our lakes and streams free from pollution requires the collective efforts from individuals, communities, and governments. There are a lot of ways to help promote clean water, including planting native vegetation and restoring wetlands. It can also mean disposing of hazardous materials properly, participating in community cleanup events, and reducing the use of fertilizers and pesticides in lawns and gardens. Healthy forests, wetlands, and vegetative ecosystems absorb pollutants and help us in many different ways. So, what can you do to help in your area?